Welcome to the 10th Co-Creative Thought Transformation video, and congratulations for making it this far as the lessons and insights become tougher to address and practice. As you move through the heart, cleansing becomes more and more important. You are becoming a clear channel for love and abundance, which will flow to you and through you to others. This month's video focuses on the next step in spiritual development, moving from guilt to forgiveness. Now that we have looked at eliminating judgments, possessiveness, and controlling behavior while also seeking to curb the defensive and offensive influence of the ego, it is time to look at guilt, a major impediment to complete heart openness. Guilt can serve a useful learning purpose when it leads to awareness, growth, restitution, healing, and forgiveness. But guilt is more commonly experienced as a negative emotion that justifies further punishment or self-flagellation even after apologies or attempts at reparation have been made. All negativity leads to heart closure, and guilt is no exception. Whether you feel guilty long after it is productive, or you keep guilt alive by withholding forgiveness from others. Heart closure may be partial or only in regard to one person or situation, but it still affects heart openness. The lead to gold alchemical transformation for guilt is forgiveness, which can promote healing for both the offender and the victim. There are two types of guilt dealt with in this video. Both involve the inability to forgive. First, there is the act of perpetuating personal guilt by brooding over past mistakes or offenses. Second, there is the act of sustaining the guilt of others. When you are the guilty party, transgressions, crimes, mistakes, and slights, whether intentional or unintentional, usually lead to feelings of regret and guilt in all but the sociopath, child, those mentally ill or intellectually challenged. It is normal to feel guilty when you have caused another pain or difficulty, but the goal is to learn from your mistakes, behave differently in the future, and make a regretful situation better. I think awareness and contemplation over past actions are part of the spiritual growth process. As I have gotten older, and I'm now a senior citizen, I notice flashbacks to past life events. I witness what I have done or did not do, said or did not say with new insight. Some of the images are off-the-cuff, unintended responses. Others illustrate a lack of understanding or spiritual development on my part. And still others are my inappropriate reactions to events. In some of these images, I have caused others pain, even to those I love. In others, I have hurt myself, limited my options for the future, or curtailed my own abundance. The task for me and for others who experience guilt is to move through it and beyond in a productive manner. In the most positive manifestation, guilt can be a stepping stone to healing and forgiveness. If you are feeling guilty, you can take the following steps regardless of the nature of your offense. You must accept responsibility for your actions. Recognize that guilt is a doorway to insight when you take full responsibility for your actions or behavior. You cannot begin the healing process for you or the victim until you take this first step. Owning what you did or did not do, intentionally or unintentionally, leads to insight and understanding. It allows you to grasp what you have done and the impact you have had on others. When you take full responsibility for your actions, you open the door to both psychological and spiritual growth. If you don't take responsibility, You will never fully relate to the damage you have caused or empathize with the victim. Instead, you will maintain or develop a blind spot. By avoiding accountability, you thwart your own growth and healing for the victim. You must be contrite and apologize if possible. You have to truly regret your actions or behavior and feel sorry for any injury, pain, or negative effect they might have had. If the event truly bothers you, and if possible, you can return to face the difficult situation you created and apologize to the victim for your past transgressions or ineptitude. If you feel that a direct apology would be inappropriate or impossible for one reason or another, and the offense is a major one, confess to a religious figure, healthcare professional, therapist, friend, or even a law enforcement officer, depending upon the nature of the offense. Journal your thoughts. Confer with your co-creative partner. Giving voice to your apology deepens your sense of responsibility and insight into the impact of your offense on the victim. You should make reparations as best you can. You are required to make amends to the victim if possible. It is not enough just to say you are sorry. Apologies are hollow when there is no reparation, restitution, or compensation. You must help the victim return to the former state if achievable. You can make amends either directly or indirectly, depending upon what is best for the other party. If interaction is ill-advised or amends impossible, lend assistance to victims of similar circumstances or other causes. Do some good somewhere for someone. This is for your own personal healing and will help you to realize the full effect of any injury or pain you have caused. Honor the process of restitution in an appropriate manner. When you pay for the damage you create or work to correct the problems you have caused, you are not only less likely to offend again in the future, you become part of the solution rather than the problem. You need to resolve to change in the future. Make a firm commitment to change. Learn all you can from your mistakes and resolve to do things differently hereafter by investigating your motives and developing a positive strategy for the future. What led you to that situation? What caused you to respond the way you did? There had to have been more appropriate responses. What were those options? What kept you from choosing one of them instead? How would others have handled this situation? Is there a role model you can look up to? Consider what you would do differently now if you could turn back time. Come up with a game plan. Gaining insight into what you did and why you did it, along with what you can do differently, can help to prevent future occurrences. Your apology and reparations mean nothing if you continue to behave in the same manner, creating new offenses. Ask for forgiveness and forgive yourself. You may or may not be lucky enough to be forgiven by the victim, but regardless, you need to forgive yourself. You are a student of life involved in a learning process. You may make decisions you later regret, and sometimes terrible mistakes, both intentional and unintentional. If you have conscientiously gone through the other 4 steps, you have the right and responsibility to forgive yourself. This is a necessary step in your own healing. If you have committed a crime or more serious transgression, you will probably experience a lifetime of insight from this traumatic event. The more serious the offense, the more times you will relive the event and have to go through the 5 steps. For you, this will be a repetitive process. Healing will involve shedding layers and layers of counterproductive behavior and establishing new, rehabilitated social skills. You may never be forgiven by the victim and may find it difficult to forgive yourself, But as you shed each layer and reform yourself, honor your process. Forgive yourself bit by bit with each round if that is all you can do. Find a way to give to others so the healing process can continue and your heart can open. If you are plagued by guilt in regards to a petty offense, you probably have not been through the 5 steps or been conscientious enough as you accomplish them. You need to dig deeper and try harder. If you have made sincere and repeated efforts over a slight offense without positive results, it is time to move on or see a counselor. Guilt is a useless and wasteful emotion when it lingers like an old house guest who is no longer welcomed. Once you have done everything that can or need be done to make amends and prevent future occurrences, forgive yourself and put the matter to rest, even if others do not or cannot. You should not wallow in guilt any more than the victim should remain stuck in self-pity. It is time to rise above the negativity and begin to recreate your life for yourself and others. Awareness can lead to preemptive corrections. You don't have to live mistakes in the future if you stay alert, proactive, and in touch with your co-creative partner. You can begin to project your possible actions forward, see their probable effects and responses, and then make appropriate adjustments before proceeding. In this way, foresight replaces hindsight and enables increasing self-mastery. The other side of guilt involves the victim withholding forgiveness and getting stuck in victimization. This can be both psychologically and spiritually damaging, and it makes no sense when the offense is minor, unintended, and the offender is truly sorry while attempting to make reparations or correct the situation. Refusing to forgive and holding on to pain in this situation suggests a psychological pattern of victimization that might best be addressed in counseling if it is a repetitive life occurrence. Even if the offender refuses to apologize, is incapable of understanding the pain he or she has caused, or simply unaware for one reason or another, you should endeavor to rise above the situation and move on. If nothing can be gained from trying to inform the perpetrator as to his or her transgression, bypass this person completely and recreate your life. Don't get angry, don't get even, get enlightened. With your co-creative partner, you are more powerful and creative than anything that has happened to you. Forgiveness is much more difficult but not impossible when the offense is major, long-lasting, and/or permanent. But regardless of the offense committed and the pain experienced, the inability to forgive the perpetrator or to channel your hurt and anger into a positive pursuit or cause extends and magnifies the damaging impact of the original offense. When you refuse to forgive, you continue to replay the offense and carry the pain with you on a daily or even hourly basis. This not only affects your heart openness, but also your spiritual growth, as well as your mental and physical health. In this way, the original offense is extended well into the future and far beyond the initial incident. Your life and spiritual growth can spiral upwards from the infraction, or you can instead descend into the black hole of despair. Withholding forgiveness negates any possibility of compassion for the perpetrator. This may or may not be possible for you given a major offense, and might seem unreasonable when the crime is truly senseless, the effect permanent, and/or there is no justice. The important point to keep in mind is that forgiveness is not primarily for the benefit of the offender. It is for your benefit. You do not have to make a statement of forgiveness to the offender, or even see him or her face to face. This may only increase your pain and sense of victimization. Forgiveness is for you, the victim, because the inability to accept and forgive will stunt your spiritual growth and close your heart, even if only a little, to all those you love and all the joy in being with your loved ones. When you refuse to forgive, depression or anger can set in. Depression is very different from grief. Grief is an immediate reaction to a serious offense that involves painful sadness. Grief tends to bring people together, forming or strengthening interpersonal bonds as others rally around with offers of support. Grieving individuals may draw closer to their co-creative partner for comfort and assistance. Grief can lighten with time and eventually be commingled with fond memories of the past and resolve, if not hope, for the future. Depression, on the other hand, is very different from grief. Depression deepens and darkens with time. It separates and isolates as the individual withdraws from interaction with others and may even become mentally, emotionally, or physically unreachable. Any and all positive emotion can be overwhelmed by negativity. Life slows down for the depressed person as there is no attempt to move forward. A truly depressed person cannot see positive choices or contemplate constructive actions. He or she prefers to do nothing and ceases to truly relate to anyone or anything. Refusing to forgive can instead result in anger. While depression lacks movement, anger can be a call to action. Hopefully, this will be corrective action related to a purpose or cause instead of a reaction or retaliation. Allowing anger to rage without a creative or productive outlet for expression will be detrimental to your physical and emotional health as well as your spiritual growth. Relationships may suffer, even relationships with those you love. Anger can separate and isolate as effectively as depression. You cannot harbor guilt, depression, anger, or a lack of forgiveness and not be tainted by it. Refusing to forgive can consume you. You will identify with a negative event and continue to relive it. You need to put this burden down. If you have been a victim, you have to find a way to come to terms with what has happened to you so you can live a full life with an open, loving heart. You cannot stop living and loving because of someone else's mistake, transgression, or crime. That would be giving the perpetrator too much power. You have to move forward for your own sake and for the sake of those you love. Victims who become courageous and inspirational when faced with a major challenge or injury remain open-hearted because of their beneficial effect on and interchange with others. In this way, forgiveness can be uplifting, promoting spiritual growth, insight, and wisdom. Creating a means to effect positive change for yourself or others that will prevent unfortunate events or harm in the future makes the best of a bad and even horrible situation. A positive response is every bit as important as forgiveness. Sublimating your anger and pain into a push for change is an act of caring for others that allows the heart to remain open and heal. If you cannot forgive at the present moment, make a difference somehow, somewhere, and some way. Otherwise, you will feel helpless against injustice and weakened by your inability to respond effectively. You are not helpless and weak. Channel your emotions in a positive and productive manner. If you wish to do something constructive and transformational, confer with your co-creative partner. What sense of purpose can you lend to a painful event? How can you effect a positive change for the future? Respond in a creative manner for the sake of your own healing. Initiate corrective action. Do something positive for yourself and others. The best healing comes when you thrive in spite of and because of whatever you have been through and transform guilt into compassion and forgiveness. If you are able to accomplish this, you will be rewarded with a completely open, inflowing, and overflowing heart. This is your best option for the future and just may be what you are here to do. I think you know the routine by now. Work with this 10th co-creative thought transformation for 1 month, keeping it foremost in your mind. At the end of the month, move on to the 11th co-creative thought needing transformation. You are not expected to master any of the co-creative thought transformations within 1 month's time. These transformations are lifelong callings. There are layers and layers of spiritual insight and growth innate to each new co-creative thought pattern. In the beginning, awareness in and of itself is considered progress, a step in the right direction. Next month's 11th thought needing transformation is distrust, which will also be in video format. Look for the 11th co-creative thought transformation on my YouTube channel or Mary Juno website. To receive notices of each new video, subscribe to my YouTube channel or newsletter. For more information about Heart Journey and co-creative manifestation, go to my maryjuno.com website. There you will find a study guide, sample chapter, and videos. Heart Journey, the book, is available in paper and digital format, and obviously the greatest amount of information and spiritual depth is only found in the book. My videos can only introduce you to the topic. The book can be purchased online or through a bookstore. The digital format will work with your iPad, tablet, computer, or phone. Free apps are available. I wish you all the best with this 10th co-creative thought transformation, which is probably the most difficult transformation I have presented so far. I look forward to sharing with you next month with a new video, and I hope you have an abundant and insightful month.